Hello, I'm Mara and I make journals. This is a journal I made for the Nik the Booksmith Deserted Island challenge. If I can figure out how to do it, I'll link below on the YouTube posting. So this is the cover of my journal. This is made from a bandana and embroidery. This is in little notches on the edge, and it's secret under here, so I can poke in some secret things. This is made out of bandana. I'm going to tell you the givens and the chosen things once I get my wise choices, once I get inside this book. This is an envelope that I made out of a paper that's all kind of crinkly. I think it looks like eggshell. And this was in another of the Deserted Island challenge videos. And I asked the lady how to make this, and she told me. I really like it because it's very flexible and it feels thinner than the other paper. This is my front page, but I really still don't know what I want to call this journal. I do have a library definition for deserted here. And here I don't know what I'm going to write yet. I've been thinking and thinking. Maybe you can help me. Here I have a little note that I wrote while I was on the island. And I want to explain to you, this explains to you how I got on the island. I couldn't afford a Disney cruise, so I rented a kayak. The kayak was green with dents and scrapes. The name stenciled on the side of the kayak was the Trusty Pickle. I'm not kidding. I paddled away. The pickle handled beautifully, but after a while I grew tired, and then the paddle broke. I spied a nearby island. Hooray! This is from wallpaper. And this is tea-dyed paper, but when I tea-dye my paper, I don't bake it, so it stays this golden color, but I do use kitchen tools just like everybody else. This is the bottom of tiny muffin tins, and this is made with an oven rack. I think it really turns out nice. Love the paper. Well, on this island was a little free library. Someone had written in here, little free survival library. And in this little library I noticed some really cool books. One was Wise Choices by N.B. Smith. This is the 1952 edition of Marvelous Macrame. This is Glue, a field guide. And this is Island Cuisine. Should I eat that root? Now, this is how I became abandoned on this island. I was looking at this little free library where I noticed a movement behind a tree. And out jumped a woman. She ran over to my kayak, jumped in, and with her hands she paddled away. And a strange thing I noticed was that she was wearing a magical waterproof fanny pack. So there I was, abandoned on this island. This is my fanny pack, my magical waterproof fanny pack. And in here were my givens and my wise choices. I used a cutter bee scissors. This is the most excellent scissors, I kid you not, for fussy cutting. Though it's not really great for long cuts, but I wanted it for the fussy cutting. I used wallpaper. This is the run of the wallpaper I used. I used an amount of wallpaper that had the same square inches, basically, as a 12 by 12 piece of scrap paper. And there's nothing more fun than fussy cutting wallpaper because it's really tough and flexible. I love cutting wallpaper up. I used one of these green hanging folders. Now this is a big one, and I thought that was a wise choice. I used what was left, and this edge, after I cut it off, became my straight edge for the rest of the project. Not the metal side, because I thought that might be a cheat. But I did use this edge for a straight edge. And I really like these little grooves in the gusset. That helped me make my journal. It gave me some lines to measure with. Here's my tea-dyed paper, my big needle. This is almost a knife and just about as dangerous. And this is a piece of my bandana I got at the dollar store. It cost me $1. And it has all these patterns in it. And it also has threads that I teased out to use for sewing. This was a really wise choice. So here I have something else I wrote. It says, I could often see lights flickering on the mainland. Sometimes I could hear voices or snippets of music. So close but so far away. I yelled and waved my arms around, but only heard something that sounded like, hello! No one came to rescue me. How long must I stay alone on this island? If I didn't have my magical fanny pack, how could I survive? No matter what occurs, I still have the 4 givens. This is like an applique. It's embroidered leaf on the tea-dyed paper. Here's a tree from the island, and this was just tea dye that I let run down the page. Turned into a tree. I made a banner that says help, spells out help, and I made this other banner just to attract attention of anybody who was paddling by or anyone who could see me on the mainland. More embroidered flowers, I mean leaves. Then there's a ribbon, actually a bandana rose that I made. Again, this tea-dyed paper, I'm always making this tea-dyed paper through kitchen items like oven racks or pizza pans. And I do a lot of splattering water on this tea-dyed paper when it's still wet, and then you get this blobbing effect, which I really like. This is from the wallpaper. Little worm getting, a bird getting the early worm. This is a piece of that file folder, and I just wove some bandana ribbon through there. Leaves with berries. I'm pretty proud of these because I made the string for these berries by teasing out threads. These threads are very weak, so I kind of had to I don't know, kind of like I'm making my own thread using several pieces of the individual threads from the bandana. These are doodle mushrooms from Splatters, and it says do not eat these mushrooms. I can tell you from experience, these are not safe. Not safe. Here's more of this crumpled crinkle paper that I really love. This is more from the bandana. I actually used Mod Podge. I forgot to tell you that. That was my adhesive. I used Mod Podge, and I just spread the Mod Podge with my finger over the bandana. And this became stiff when it dried, and it was really easy to cut with the cutter bee scissors. This is my doodle garden, and again, these were splatters and drips. And I've never doodled like this before, but having those drips really gave me outline or inspiration for where to put these mysterious flower doodles. This is a little door. I need to put something inside here, but it does have the strings from the spine from the signature and some wallpaper. Other ladies had made these beautiful flowers with paper, crumpled up paper, torn paper, and so I was inspired by them to make this flower. This was another one of my bandana flowers, and this is really stiff from having the Mod Podge on it. I don't think I could have cut this with that scissors if I didn't use the Mod Podge to stiffen the fabric. An envelope here, and I did use a lot of this line work in the journal, and I have an essential trimmer. I make wiggly lines, so I on purpose put these little dots and these dashes, and I find that easier than trying to go straight with a line. Here I used one end of my pen and another end of my pen that was one of my choices. This is a Zig Writer, and this is a really good pen. I love this. This is French Knots. Sort of wanted to look like allium. And I think that this tea dyeing looks like birch bark. Here's a little tiny envelope with a little note card inside. I had such a lot of fun making these things. When I tore this paper, just accidentally I tore a piece of paper in half while it was still a little damp from Mod Podge, and it gave me this white edge. So I decided to keep that because then that became another color. Ribbon rose made out of bandana. I love the way this is frayed. This is also made out of bandana, cutting out the shapes on the bandana, and it's got a lot of secret places to write. This is another place to write. I made a yo-yo button to go on here, and again this edging that I do with my shaky hand, and that gives the sense of a different color here, sort of a light brown. This is a little pouch I made, and in here are things I found on the island, which I can't show you because we weren't allowed to pick up things on the island to use in this book. So these are some of the secret things I picked up along the shore and on the island. Here's my map of the island. I know for a fact this is north. Here is the island, and there's a little stone path going across the middle, and it's got trees. There's rapids here, and that's what kept me from trying to swim over to the mainland. And over here be dragons. This is entirely unexplored because I kind of put out from over here with my kayak, and I had no idea what was over here. Kind of scared me, that unknown area of water. This is what I missed, the things I missed. And even after making this list, I thought of more things that I missed. Here are some of the things I missed, like this paper cutter and the enveloper, a brayer. Gosh, I wanted a brayer. And I really love this hem gauge, seam gauge from sewing, so I always know what's level and what's not. Glue dots, ink, embossing powder, all the wonderful toys I have that I could use. Even a pencil, which I would have almost killed for. This is more wallpaper, more leaves. And this, in fact, is my little island. I hope you can see it well in the video. It turns out it was really, really small. And this is exactly what it looked like. Just a tiny thing. I actually have a photograph of it. And if I can, I'll put a photograph in the video. And you're wondering, how did I get off this island? Well, one day I saw someone paddling a kayak towards the island. I went to hide behind a tree just to see what this person was doing. And as she pulled up and beached her kayak, I just kept an eye on her. And just like me, she was immediately interested in that little free library, which incidentally is an idea that was invented in Wisconsin. And she came to the little free library and was looking at the books. And while she was distracted, I ran to the beach, jumped into her kayak, and paddled away. Now, I didn't feel bad about doing this, and do you know why? Because that woman, ironically, strangely, also was wearing a magical waterproof fanny pack. So I knew that she would enjoy this island as much as I did. I was not sending her to her doom. I was sending her to some sort of playland where she could make a journal too. Thank you. Remember, I'm Mara, and I make journals. Thank you. Bye.